to also give you a better sense of the layout of this house. Fingers crossed I'll be able to do that. Hi and welcome back to my channel and to the first episode of this next makeover series. Now I'm currently sitting on the staircase in our entryway. I think it's no big surprise to you that the entryway is going to be our next makeover. Truthfully, I always envisioned the entryway and the hallway in general to be one of the last makeovers I would want to do, because let's be honest, there are other rooms that are way more interesting to make over. However, with winter right around the corner, the entryway makeover has actually proven to be quite vital. For one, we do not have a good storage solution for our coats and jackets right now, which is why they end up piling up everywhere, which you might see by the jackets that are currently hanging on the railing of our staircase. But also we do lose quite a lot of heat through our entryway door, but more on that later. Before we get started, the first thing I want to do is to give you a tour of our entryway. So let's get started. Now, I do think this is actually a great opportunity to also give you a better sense of the layout of this house, because the hallway actually does connect most of the rooms. We actually do always joke that this house is essentially a gigantic staircase with some rooms built around it. Behind me you can see the door that leads to our living room. Now, if you have seen my previous series on the dining room, then you'll know that you'll have to go through the glass doors to get to the dining room, and from there you can make your way to the kitchen. The kitchen has also an entryway from the hallway, but I'm going to show that later on. To my right, the staircase that goes to the upper floor. Then to the left, the door that leads to my boyfriend's office / gaming room. Now, I'm not going to show you that room just yet, because I did put a lot of the junk that was sitting in our entryway up until now in there. We switched. We are standing in the living room door right now, and I'm standing in front of the entryway. As you can see, we have a wooden door, which is truthfully, I think, really gorgeous. However, it does have one big drawback, and that is it is not insulated very well, which does make this hallway very cold. We do want to keep the door because it has been with the house ever since it was built. However, I do think we have to tackle the issue of the insulation, because we do lose quite a lot of heat through here, and that's of course not very ideal. Now then, to my left there's a radiator, which is on one hand needed in here, on the other, having the radiator right next to the not insulated door. You can kind of guess where I'm going with this. I also do think that it does not look very nice. I mean, it's massive and it's like a main focal point, which, I mean, I don't think that a radiator should truly be like the main focal point of your entryway. So I would like to do something about it. So now you can see the second half of this hallway. Again, the gigantic staircase. To my right, the entryway door. And then here you actually have to walk down a few steps. Now, behind me is the door that leads to our kitchen. So, as I mentioned before, the kitchen can be accessed from the dining room as well as from this hallway. The kitchen is definitely a project in and of itself, so I'm not going to show you much of that either. Just know that I think the kitchen is going to be one of the first projects we're going to tackle next here. To my right, there's a small downstairs bathroom. It's actually more of a washroom. And then to the left, there's the door that leads to our basement. And that's actually everything you can find on this floor. So now, what's the plan? What are we going to do in here? First of all, I want to build a box around the radiator so that it won't be the focal point of our entryway anymore. I already did get some panels that are specifically meant for enclosing radiators, so that's a project we are going to tackle. Then I want to paint essentially the whole hallway, but I don't think we're going to paint everything one and the same same color. I think I want to create like sections and then paint all the sections a slightly different color. Next up, I want to build a box where our router sits on, which then simultaneously is also going to hide all the cables that are underneath. And then this box, which holds all the plumbing for a second bathroom upstairs that was added later on. As you can see, it was never properly finished, and I would very much like to do that as well. Then I maybe want to add some paneling along the staircase, exchange the light fixtures. Then I need to get started with second-hand shopping to find some art for in here. The mirror needs to be hung, and also that light is definitely going to be exchanged. And then I also want to build a coat rack where we can at least store the jackets that we wear daily at the moment. So we have quite a lot of stuff to figure out, and I think it's no surprise when I say that this is not going to be a one-week project. We have a lot to do, so let's get to work. Now I think what I first want to do is to get started on the uglier spots. In other words, I'm first going to build the frame that is eventually going to hide the radiator, as well as the box that is going to hide the cable mess we have over there. And then once that's done, I'm going to get started on choosing the paint colors for in here, and then also the more aesthetic stuff. But we'll have to see how far I can get. Now, I did get a few things pre-cut at the hardware store, like these panels for instance. However, the hard part is that in this house nothing is truly square, so we definitely will have to do some adjustments to make it fit. Also, my boyfriend is not at home today, so I will have to do some of the cutting myself. Fingers crossed I'll be able to do that. I think I'm just going to take this downstairs now, and then I'll try my best to get this done. As you can see, there is like this huge gap along the wall. I did get this piece of wood cut from the hardware store, and they have these really professional cutting machines, so I have no doubt in my mind that my piece of wood is square, which then means that our floor and or our wall isn't square. I wanted to find out which it was, and turns out it's both. The wall is slightly not straight and the floor as well. That's going to be fun. Thank God they fit. So now I can get started and build the rest of the frame. Let's assemble this, shall we? The frame is finished, and as you can see, it fits quite nicely. Now I do most definitely will have to attach it to the wall. However, I think I'll do that later on. Next step is to get started on the paneling. Now, as I mentioned before, I got these panels which are specifically meant to put in front of radiators, hence the patterns with the holes in them. These will have to be cut to size as well. In order to do that, I will need the circular saw, and that is the one saw that I do not want to use. So I think I'm going to wait for my boyfriend to get home to do that. However, I can already get started on the frames which will hold the panels, and I'm going to build those from these trim pieces. What I can already do is to cut these to size and glue them together so that I have my frames. And then once my boyfriend gets back, I'll have him cut the panels to size, and then I'll attach the frames to the panels. And then we are actually already done with most of the stuff for the radiator cover, which is pretty exciting. Honestly, it's really liberating now that I'm able to use the saw myself. I mean, my boyfriend never complained about cutting anything for me. However, it's also kind of nice not always having to ask someone. So I will just get started on this. So while I'm waiting for the glue to dry, I think I can already get started on the box that is going to hide the cables. It would be way easier if I could just build a box and enclose everything. However, we still need to have access to the cables that are here and also to the power plugs that are behind. So I do think I will have to build some sort of door so that we can easily access the cables. So unfortunately for me, this is going to be a bit more complicated. However, the base is still going to be a box. So I think I can just get started with that right now and then kind of go from there. Good morning, or more accurately, good afternoon. It's the next day now, and truthfully, yesterday I did not get anything more done. I was simply so tired after everything that I did do, and with it getting dark so early here at the moment, I also kind of lost motivation to keep going. This does mean that this morning I did get an early start. I already did quite a lot of cutting. My boyfriend also cut the panels for me, so that's also done. So what I'm going to do next is to assemble the box, because I did prepare all the individual pieces this morning. So I guess without further ado, let's get started. as you can see, it fits. As you can see, there is this giant hole in the middle of my box. Now, I did mention yesterday that we need to have access to the cables inside the box, so I decided that I would build some sort of door, which is why I cut this hole. This of course then means that we still have to build said door, but I think before we get started with that, I'm going to switch over to the radiator. Okay, so here I have my frames for the panels, and the panels are actually still downstairs. Initially I was just going to put the panels in, install everything and then paint. Now I'm thinking that maybe it would be easier to first paint the panels and then install them. So maybe now is the perfect time to go get my paint samples. Okay, so maybe it is a bit more than just a few. Welcome back to the basement. Behind me you can see the panels that we cut this morning, and I'm here because I made my choice on the paint color and I'm going to get started on painting them. I know I painted quite a lot of samples upstairs on the walls, however in truth for the panels there actually only ever were two choices, because all the other colors are actually wall colors and not meant for painting furniture and wood. So the two options that I had were these two. On paper they actually look quite similar. The only difference is that one is slightly warmer than the other. In reality though, they do look quite different. I painted them upstairs in a few spots, and it was quite clear which one was the warmer one and which one was the colder one. The colder one actually did look partially grey in some areas, which I did not like very much, so I guess it's needless to say I chose the warmer color. I did not make a choice yet on the paint color that will go on the walls, but I think it's fine to wait a little longer for that. So yeah, it's actually already dark out, even though it's merely 5 p.m. But I am quite determined to at least paint the radiator cover today, so I guess without further ado, let's get to work. It's the next day now, and actually we already got started this morning and tried to do something about the insulation of our door. Like I mentioned, our door has a lot of gaps around where there is quite a lot of airflow, and so we bought foam sealing tape to go around the door. The tape we got actually worked quite nicely along the top of the door. However, to the side it was too thick, so I think we might need to reorder foam tape that is slightly thinner. I don't think this is the final solution yet. I did think that I could just put a curtain behind the door. From an aesthetic point of view, it's not my favorite solution. However, in the short term, I think it may be the best we can do this winter. So yesterday evening I did manage to finish painting all of the panels and also the frames for the radiator cover. So this morning we can actually get started right away and assemble everything. I do realize that I actually never really told you the details for the radiator cover. Here on this side of the radiator there's the regulator to turn up the heat, and while I do want our radiator to be covered, we do need to be able to access that one. And so I decided that I wanted the left panel to be a door. Essentially what I'm going to do is I will glue the panels into their respective frames, and then these two panels will be attached permanently, but then this one will function as a door that can be opened and closed if needed. So this is the point where I probably need to give you a few more details. In order for me to properly install the cover door, I needed a bit more support behind the other panel, and so I decided to add another piece of wood there. Then it was time to finally attach everything to the main frame. As a closing mechanism for the door, I decided to go with a magnetic lock again, since I still have a few of those left from last week's DIY keybox. And last but not least, I attached the door handle. Done. So I think this is as far as we are going to get this week. Yesterday we had some guests over, which is why I ended up tidying the mess that I made while building this, even though we are very much not finished with this project. So the mess is probably going to be back in the next few days. I actually am quite happy with how this turned out. I don't think I'm 100% finished yet. I do still have to attach the radiator cover to the wall, and also I am thinking about maybe painting this so that it does not stick out that much. I guess we'll have to see. Now, in truth, I actually was kind of hoping that I would be able to finish this as well this week. However, it just was not doable. So this is probably going to be the first thing we will tackle in the next Entryway Makeover episode, along with probably choosing a paint color for the rest of the room and also tackling our code problem. If you liked this episode, then please like this video and consider subscribing to my channel. I wish you a wonderful rest of your day, and I hope to see you on my next video. Bye!